All right, so for this deep dive, you really sent us down the AI rabbit hole. I mean, official announcements, benchmarks, Reddit threads, even AI-generated memes. You give us a lot to unpack about what's new in AI.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see how fast things are moving, and it seems like we're not just seeing small improvements, but fundamental shifts in how AI is being developed and how people are thinking about its role in society.
So today, let's dive into all that and explore the most exciting breakthroughs, unpack some of the hype, and figure out what it all means for you. Let's start with OpenAI's new operator tool. It's been generating a lot of buzz.
Yeah, Operator is a premium AI agent that's designed to interact with a computer mainly through a web browser. And what's really interesting is that this comes right after Anthropic released their own agent as an open source demo. So it looks like we've got an AI agent race heating up.
A race, so they're trying to outperform each other.
Exactly. And this has implications beyond just bragging rights. We're talking about who controls the most powerful AI tools, who sets the standards, and ultimately who benefits from these advancements.
That's a good point. But back to Operator for a second.
Yeah.
What's the big deal about it?
Well, imagine an AI that can open tabs, click buttons, fix your typos, basically automate tasks you normally do manually in a browser.
Okay, I can see the appeal there.
Yeah.
But is it really that reliable? Some early reports mention that it needs corrections, especially when exporting videos.
That's true. It's important to remember that this is still very early stage technology. There will be bugs, there will be limitations. But what's interesting is that even with these limitations, some developers are raising concerns about giving AI this level of access to our computers.
What kind of concerns are they raising?
Well, privacy is a big one. How will Operator handle sensitive information? How will it be secured against potential misuse? And there are also questions about how Operator will deal with more complex tasks, things that need human judgment and decision making.
So it's not just can the AI do it, but should it do it?
Exactly. The ethical considerations are becoming more and more important as AI gets more powerful and becomes more integrated into our everyday lives.
Now, while OpenAI is charging a premium for Operator, there's another player in the AI world that's making waves with an open source approach, DeepSeek R1. Can you tell us more about them?
Absolutely. DeepSeek R1 is a reasoning model, and it was developed as a side project by a quantitative hedge fund. What's remarkable is that it's outperforming some of the biggest names in AI on these challenging tests, including one called Humanity's Last Exam.
Humanity's Last Exam. That sounds pretty intense.
It is. It's a benchmark with thousands of questions, and it's designed to really test an AI's reasoning ability at an expert level. DeepSeek R1 is hitting an accuracy rate of 9.4%, which is much higher than a lot of its competitors.
Wow, it's impressive for a side project.
Yeah.
Why do you think a smaller team like DeepSeek was able to pull this off?
It's a great question, and I think it challenges some of the assumptions we have about AI development. DeepSeek's success suggests that being agile and having a focused approach can outweigh massive resources. And it also raises the question, could we see a shift towards more decentralized AI landscape in the future?
That would be a pretty big change from what we see now with big tech dominating the field. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Real-world testing is needed to see how DeepSeek R1 actually performs in practice.
Absolutely. We need to temper the enthusiasm with some healthy skepticism. More data, more testing, and more time to see how this all plays out.
Speaking of seeing how things evolve, it seems like the AI world never sleeps. What else is happening out there that we should be paying attention to?
Well, Google DeepMind just released Videollama 3, which focuses on image and video understanding. It's a step towards AI that can really see and interpret the visual world, not just text.
So AI that can watch a movie and understand the plot.
Exactly. And it goes beyond entertainment. Imagine AI that can analyze medical images, monitor traffic patterns, or even create these realistic virtual environments.
Yeah, those are pretty impactful applications. What about other players in the field?
ByteDance, the company behind TikTok, has been making moves in AI. They've released new large language models that are specifically designed for reasoning and even GUI automation. Think of it as AI that can learn how to use software just like a human.
So we could have AI doing our work for us. Is that where all of this is heading?
It's certainly a possibility. Early adopters are already experimenting with desktop GUI automation using these models. It's definitely an area to keep an eye on.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. We've got OpenAI's operator, DeepSeek's R1, Google's Videollama 3, ByteDance's GUI automation. It seems like a lot of these new developments are focused on making AI more practical and integrated into our daily lives.
You're absolutely right. We're moving beyond the research phase and into the age of practical applications. And this is where things start to get really interesting because as AI becomes more powerful and more common, we need to think about its impact on society and on our individual lives.
That's a perfect segue into our next topic, AI hype versus reality. There's a lot of buzz about the potential of AI, but also a lot of skepticism about whether it can actually live up to the hype.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. We're still in the early stages of AI development, so it's important to be realistic about its limitations. AI still makes mistakes, what we call hallucinations, and it's important to approach these advancements with a balanced perspective.
Hallucinations. Can you give me an example of what that means in the context of AI?
Sure, imagine you ask an AI to write a news article about a recent event. It might generate a really convincing article, but include details or quotes that never actually happened. That's an AI hallucination.
So the AI is just making things up. That's a little concerning, especially if people are relying on AI for information.
It is concerning. That's why there's so much research focused on mitigating these hallucinations and making AI more reliable. But for now, it's important to be aware that AI isn't perfect and to always double-check information from AI sources.
That's a good point.
hmm
So how do we reconcile this hype with the reality? How do we navigate this complex landscape and figure out what AI actually means for us?
Well, instead of viewing AI as a threat or as something that's going to replace humans, I think we need to start thinking about AI as a potential partner.
A partner. That's an interesting way to put it. Can you elaborate on that?
Instead of fearing that AI is going to take our jobs, what if we explore the possibilities of collaboration? What if instead of replacing us, AI could help us work smarter, not harder? It's about finding that right balance, recognizing both the potential benefits and the risks, and working together to create a future where AI empowers us.
That's a pretty optimistic outlook,
Hmm.
but it also raises a lot of questions about how we integrate AI into our lives and our work in a way that benefits everyone.
Absolutely. And that's a conversation we need to be having now because the choices we make today will have a huge impact on the future of AI and its role in society.
So what are some of the key areas of research and development that you think will shape that future?
There are two areas that I find particularly exciting: program synthesis and diffusion feature extractors.
Okay, those sound pretty technical. Can you break those down for me and explain why they're important?
Sure, program synthesis is basically teaching AI to write and understand code. Imagine AI that can build other AI, create new software, and automate really complex tasks much faster and more efficiently than we can.
Wow, that's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
What about diffusion feature extractors?
Diffusion feature extractors are all about improving how AI understands and generates images. Think of it as giving AI a much deeper understanding of the building blocks of images. It goes beyond recognizing pixels to understanding shapes, textures, and even concepts within an image.
So AI that can not only create realistic images, but also understand the meaning and context behind those images.
Exactly. And that has huge implications for everything from art and design to medical imaging and scientific discovery.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I want to bring it back to our listener for a moment. How might these advancements in AI actually impact their life, their work, their future?
That's the key question, isn't it? Let's start with those AI agents, like Operator. Imagine having an AI that takes care of all your mundane tasks, helps you be more productive, or even changes how you interact with computers completely.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. But are we really talking about a future where AI is doing all our work for us?
It's not about AI replacing humans, but about AI enhancing our abilities and helping us work smarter, not harder. Think about all the repetitive things you do on a computer every day. What if an AI agent could handle all those tasks, freeing you up to focus on more creative and strategic work?
Okay. I can see how that would be a game changer for a lot of people.
But there are also some potential downsides to consider, right?
Of course.
Mhm.
There are always trade-offs with new technology. One concern is that these AI agents like Operator could lead to job displacement, especially in fields with a lot of repetitive tasks.
That's a valid concern, and it makes you wonder how we prepare for a future where work might look very different than it does today.
Exactly. And it's not just about retraining workers for new jobs, it's about rethinking the nature of work itself and exploring new economic and social models that can accommodate these rapid advancements in AI. That's a pretty big picture perspective.
Yeah,
But it's important to remember that the future AI isn't set in stone. It's up to us to shape it.
absolutely. The choices we make today, both individually and collectively, will determine what that future looks like.
And that brings us back to the tension we talked about earlier between open source AI and proprietary AI. DeepSeek's success with R1 shows that open source approaches can be really powerful. But we also see big tech companies like Google and ByteDance making huge strides in AI development.
Yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic. On one hand, you've got the open source community, which is all about transparency, collaboration, and accessibility. And on the other hand, you have these big corporations with tons of resources and a focus on commercial applications. The question is, which approach will ultimately win out? Or will we see some kind of hybrid model emerge?
That's a tough question, and I don't think anyone has the answer just yet. But it's definitely something worth thinking about as we continue to explore this evolving world of AI.
And it's a question that has really big implications for the future of innovation, access to technology, and how power is distributed in the digital age.
So as we go deeper into this discussion, I want to challenge you, the listener, to think about your own perspective on this issue. Do you think open source AI is the key to a more equitable and accessible future? Or do you think large corporations are better equipped to drive innovation and bring AI to everyone?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but the more we talk about these things, the better prepared we'll be to navigate the challenges and opportunities that are ahead.
All right, so we've talked about how powerful these new AI tools are and even touched on some of the potential problems. But there's another side of this whole AI thing that we can't ignore the ethics of it all.
You're absolutely right. As these AI systems get more and more capable, it's even more important to make sure they're being used responsibly and ethically.
Exactly. And that's where things like Anthropic Citations Project come in. They're basically teaching their AI Claude to cite sources like a research paper would. It's kind of like giving AI a bibliography, which I guess could help with transparency and accuracy.
It's a really interesting approach. The idea is that if users can trace the information an AI generates back to the original sources, it increases accountability and helps build trust.
So no more AI just making stuff up, and that whole hallucination thing we talked about was a little creepy.
Well, it's definitely a step towards reducing those cases. The goal is to make AI more reliable and trustworthy. But we have to remember that this is an ongoing process. There are still challenges when it comes to getting rid of those hallucinations and making sure that the information from AI is accurate and unbiased.
Speaking of challenges, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, the potential impact of AI on jobs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anxiety out there about AI taking over.
It's a valid concern and one we need to think about carefully. But instead of always thinking about AI as the enemy, what if we explore the ways we can work together? Like, what if instead of replacing humans, AI could actually help us be better at our jobs, helping us work smarter, not harder?
Oh, okay. So instead of fearing the robot takeover, we should be thinking about how to team up with AI to do even greater things.
Exactly. It's all about finding the sweet spot, recognizing both the good and the bad and working towards a future where AI actually makes us more powerful.
So let's say we're on board with this whole AI as a partner idea. What does that look like in real life? What can you, the listener, actually do to adapt and succeed in this new world where AI is everywhere?
Well, the most important thing is to stay curious, keep learning and exploring. The AI world changes every day, so the more you understand it, the better you'll be able to keep up and make the most of it.
So it's all about being a lifelong learner.
Exactly. And it's not just about the technical side of AI either. It's also about joining in the bigger conversation about how it's impacting society, our lives, and our future.
Because in the end, AI is just a tool, and it's up to us to decide how we use it. But sometimes it feels like things are moving so fast that it's hard to keep up, let alone actually influence things.
I get that. But you have to remember that this isn't just about big tech companies or researchers in labs. The online AI community is super active, with places like Reddit and Discord becoming hubs for all sorts of discussions, debates, and even humor.
Oh yeah, those AI-generated memes can be hilarious.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that even with all the seriousness around AI, there's still room for some fun. But going back to your point about the community, how can actually getting involved in those discussions make a difference?
It's all about collective awareness and action. The more people who get AI and its implications, the better our chances of shaping its development in a way that benefits everyone.
So it's like raising our collective AI IQ.
Exactly. And it's about holding those who are creating and using AI accountable. We need to ask tough questions about bias, transparency, and the potential consequences of these technologies.
Speaking of big projects and big consequences, did you see that the Stargate project is making news? A $500 billion initiative to boost computing power and AI development. That's huge.
Yeah, the Stargate project is definitely ambitious. People who support it believe that this massive investment is going to lead to big breakthroughs in AI and maybe even speed up progress towards AGI.
Hold on, AGI. I've heard that term, but I'm not sure what it actually means.
AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Basically, it's the idea of an AI that has the same general intelligence as a human being.
So like those AI we see in movies that can think and reason just like us.
Exactly. But while the Stargate project has gotten people excited, it's also sparked a lot of debate.
What kind of debate?
Well, some people are questioning if it's even possible to create AGI with what we know about AI right now, and then there are others who are worried about what might happen if we create an AI that's smarter than us.
Now that's getting into some deep philosophical stuff.
It really is, and it shows just how important ethics are in AI development. Are we moving too fast? Are we ready for the consequences of what we're creating? These are questions we really need to think about.
So it's not just about the tech advancements, but also the social and ethical side of things.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that AI is being developed and used in a way that aligns with human values and that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
That's a good point. And it brings us back to the role of open source AI in all of this. While the Stargate project is taking a more centralized approach, we're also seeing incredible innovations coming out of the open source community.
That's true. And open source platforms like Google Colab are still super important for making the tools and resources needed for AI development available to everyone. It's giving individuals and small teams the power to contribute to the field without needing huge amounts of funding or fancy infrastructure.
So even with these massive initiatives like Stargate, there's still room for grassroots innovation in the AI world.
Absolutely. And we're even seeing some exciting collaborations between the open source community and those big tech companies. For example, OpenAI has teamed up with Together Compute to integrate with Cartesia AI and a low-latency voice AI model called Sonic.
What's so special about that collaboration?
Well, they're aiming for a seamless blend of chat, image, audio, and code functionalities. It's like a truly multimodal AI experience. It shows that the lines between open source and proprietary AI are getting blurry and that we're moving towards a more connected AI ecosystem.
So it's not necessarily one or the other. We might see a future where both open source and proprietary AI models exist together and maybe even work together.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to know about all the different players and perspectives in the AI world. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. And the most creative solutions might actually come from these unexpected collaborations and integrations.
That's a great point. So as we wrap up this part of our discussion, I want to leave you, the listener, with a few key takeaways. First, the world of AI is constantly changing, so stay informed and be part of the conversation.
Second, the ethical side of AI is only becoming more important. We need to make sure AI is developed and used responsibly and that it benefits everyone.
Third, remember that the future of AI isn't set in stone. We have the power to shape it.
And lastly, remember that this is a complex and nuanced topic. There might not be easy answers, but by having open and honest conversations, we can work together to create a future where AI empowers us all.
All right, so we've covered a ton of ground in this deep dive, from powerful AI tools to the ethical questions and the impact on jobs. But before we wrap up, I really want to make sure we tie all of this back to you listening right now.
Yeah.
What does it all mean for your life and your work?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, it's one that each person has to answer for themselves. But I can offer a few things to think about. We've talked about AI agents like Operator and how they might automate tasks or even change how we use computers altogether. How do you see that affecting your own work?
It's a pretty wild thought, isn't it? Imagine having an AI assistant that takes care of all the boring stuff like organizing your files or even writing emails. Could that free up more of your time and energy for the things you're really good at and actually enjoy doing?
Exactly. And what about how this all might change your career path? We talked about how AI could replace some jobs, but it's also creating brand new roles and opportunities. Are you interested in those new fields? Have you thought about what skills you might need to learn to stay ahead of the game?
It's definitely a time of big change, but also a time for new opportunities. And it's not just about specific jobs either. It's about those core skills and mindsets that will be essential in a world powered by AI. Things like critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and being able to learn and adapt quickly.
Those are all super important skills, and they point to something really crucial. AI isn't just about the technology itself, it's about us. It's about the choices we make about how to use these tools and how we want to shape the future of this technology.
So what can you, the listener, do to actually be a part of shaping that future?
Well, for starters, don't be afraid to experiment. Play around with these new AI tools, see what they can do, and think about how they could fit into your life or your work. The more you use them, the better you'll understand what AI can really do and what its limits are.
And don't just sit back and let AI happen to you. Be an informed citizen. Stay updated on what's new, join the conversations about the ethical side of things, and think about how AI might impact your community and the world as a whole.
Remember, the future of AI isn't set in stone. It's being shaped right now by the decisions we make, the conversations we have, and the things we do.
That's a powerful thought. And it brings us back to that debate between open source AI and proprietary AI. As we've discussed, both approaches have their pros and cons. But when it comes down to it, what kind of AI future do you want to see?
Do you want a future where AI is accessible to everyone, where knowledge and innovation are shared freely? Or do you think a more controlled approach is needed to make sure it's safe and prevent people from using it for the wrong reasons?
There's no easy answer here. But it's something to really consider as we navigate this crazy and fast-changing world of AI. The decisions we make today will have a huge impact on the AI-powered world we'll be living in tomorrow.
So stay curious, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay hopeful. The future of AI is full of possibilities, and it's our responsibility to make it a future that benefits all of humanity.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
And remember, this is just the start of the conversation. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking questions. The future of AI is in our hands. Let's create a future we can all be proud of.